Good evening. We'll call to order the March 5th meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education. Please rise for the pledge to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Hill, roll call, please.
Mr. Callahan?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Mr. Fernandez?
Here.
Mrs. Napolitano?
Here.
Mrs. Pabon?
Here.
Ms. Pylock?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
And Mrs. Bloom.
Here. Okay, at this time, Ms. Hill, will you summarize executive session, please?
The board discussed personnel, including but not limited to agenda items, a student matter, and matters falling under attorney-client privilege.
Okay. Any correspondence of note?
No.
Okay. I will now need a motion to approve the minutes from the last board meeting.
So moved.
Second. Ms. Hill?
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Mrs. Napolitano?
Yes.
Mrs. Pabon?
Yes.
Ms. Pylock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bloom.
Yes. Okay, and now to the best, one of the best parts of our meeting, our student representative, Ashton. You're all by yourself tonight, so you go first.
Good evening, Board of Education members and administrators. My name is Ashton Pondel, SMS Student Council Board of Education representative. The Student Council sold carnations during lunch today to raise money for the NJASC charity, Hugs for Brady. Carnations were delivered on Valentine's Day. Thank you to all the support. The Student Council will be hosting the Anything Goes Assembly on March 22nd. It will be staff versus student assembly. Spirit Week will take place the week of March 18th. During the Week of Kindness, the Community Service Club colored coffee sleeves for Bombers Beyond. They also gave out Valentine's Day cards to children at St. Jude's Hospital. They are currently piloting a Zen Den during 8th grade lunch for 8th graders to relax and regroup. The Spring Food Drive for March has started. Student Council members will be around during homeroom. The Sayreville School District will be honored by CASA of Middlesex County at an event, Toast 2024, on May 7th at Château Grande. CASA is honoring the district for the middle school's Community Service Club support and collection of their gift drive for foster children over a decade. Doreen Consolmano, Community Service Advisor, will be present to accept the award on behalf of the district. Community Service Club continue to decorate coffee sleeves with positive and kind messages for Bombers Beyond for Kindness Month. The class council is continuing the Positive Impact bracelets, Together and Choose Kindness. Each week, a student and teacher are recognized why they received the bracelet over the morning announcements. The SMS class council is in the process of organizing an 8th grade trip. They had great success in their Double Good Popcorn fundraiser. Thank you to everyone for your support. Handbag bingo and tricky cherry event is sold out. Thank you to all who purchased the ticket. Looking forward to an amazing evening. Harlem Wizards game versus the Thunderstruck Bomber teacher team is Thursday, April 4th at the high school gym. 8th grade semi-formal dance is Friday, May 10th. Ticket information will be sent out soon. Now on to the Sayreville Middle School athletics. The SMS Blue team ended their season with a win, 49-36 in their home finale. The boys finished their season with a record of 10-2. Coach Donegan is proud of their team and their consistent effort on the court and in the classroom. Great season, Bombers. The Sayreville Middle School girls basketball team recently finished up an incredible season. The blue team finished with an 8-4 record and came in second place in the white division. This talented group of girls have shown tremendous improvement from last year and have worked extremely hard to get to this point. They picked up wins against South Plainfield, Thomas Jefferson, Hoover, Sauk, and North Brunswick. Leading the way for the Bombers was Natalia and Veronica Glazowski, as well as Lila Stevenson. The Gray team finished their season with a record of 5-6 and showed tremendous progress throughout the year. The Bombers defeated Highland Park, Timothy Christian, New Brunswick, and Jamesburg this season. Coach Vasquez and Coach Fassini are extremely excited of the future for this program. Great job, girls. The cheerleading team competed at Howell Cheer Championships on Friday 17th. Both teams scored very well. The all-music competition took first place for the 5th time at NJCDCA State Championships. The game day competition team placed second on Sunday at NJCDCA State Championships. We are looking proud for our athletes. Game day will be performing at Unified Basketball Game next Thursday after school. The coaches and athletes are looking forward to celebrating their success in April. The Sayreville Middle School softball team will be hosting their tryouts this week starting tomorrow, March 6th, through Friday the 8th. The coaching staff is very excited for their season underway and anticipate a successful, competitive, and fun season ahead. Spring tryouts are March 11th through 15th, and SMS baseball tryouts, 8th grade, March 5th and 6th, and 7th grade, 7 and 8. That's it.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Ashton?
You win a bracelet yet?
No.
No, huh? Listen, you're the number one guy, number one in the whole school you represent. You gotta win one.
None of my teachers even had a bracelet, so
What's that?
none of my teachers had a bracelet, so I can't even get it.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah, like your teacher has to get it, and then they talk to you, and then they give you the bracelet.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Good job,
Okay,
guys.
Ashton, thank
Well,
you.
if we all had bracelets, we'd be giving you one right now. Great job as always, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, the middle school cheer competition cheer team, we have invited them to our March 19th meeting so that we can honor them because they were crowned the grand champions of that New Jersey Dance and Cheer Association Championship. So we'll be honoring them on the 19th.
Okay. All righty, moving on to President's comments. Well, if you don't know, this is Read Across America Week. And this is one of the most fun times for me, having been out of the classroom for years. I go back and I read to the little ones. Monday I was at Arlith, and today I was at Cheesequake with our little preschoolers. So adorable. So I wear my colored pencil shirt, and I ask them if they can figure out what I taught when I taught. And then I show them my artist's palette earrings, and they get it. They're so cute. They loved it. So this is just such a pleasure, and I'll be reading at a different school every morning for the rest of the week. So I'm getting up early for the kids. But it's a pleasure, and I'm sure some of my colleagues are reading as well. So we really enjoy it, and we thank all of our teachers for inviting us and for making us feel welcome in the schools.
And on behalf of our teachers and principals, they thank you, Board of Education members, for taking the time to read to the children. If you haven't had a chance to do it, I recommend that you do it at least once. You leave there with such an incredible feeling because the kids are just enamored by you and the fact that you're coming to their classroom to read to them.
I think we were in the same school. Did you go to a school today?
I was at Truman,
Truman.
Arlith, and Sillover
We
today.
must have just missed
Oh,
each
and
other.
Eisenhower. I went to
'Cause
Eisenhower.
I was at
too.
Truman today,
It-
in second
There were a
grade.
lot of people at Truman today. Yeah.
Yeah, kids are cute. I got a first grader last year, 2 first graders, and they like escort you right to the class. And they're so proud that they know.
Yeah.
This is this office, this, they're little tour guides. They're good kids.
And when they announce you, when they say, this is a Board of Education member, they go,
That happened today.
Okay. Ms. Vice President, your highlights?
I don't have any.
No highlights?
No highlights.
Okay.
Nope.
Excellent. Short and to the point. Dr. Labby, presentations.
Thank you, Mrs. Bloom. We are going to resume our presentations on the proposed 2024-2025 budget for the last time this evening with our last 2 presentations, beginning with Human Resources and Professional Development and then ending with Technology. And believe it or not, on March 19th, we'll be asking you to approve the tentative 2024-2025 budget. Board of Education members, I'll have that information to you by Monday, by my summary email on Sunday. So you have plenty of time to review that. However, let's begin with Dr. Aguilis and Ms. Burt for our Human Resources and Professional Development proposed 2024-2025 budget presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Labby. Thank you, Board. We're going to start with Human Resources because Ms. Bird is more interesting than I am. Human Resources, our goals for 23-24. If you notice, they all say continue to meet. That's because when we're dealing with human beings, it's hard to quantify. especially the type of goals that we're setting out for. But we are proud of what we're doing in the Human Resources Office. So that first goal for this year was to continue to work to become part of a collective group where we're promoting and retaining diverse talent at every level across the district. Now, I have to say that on our non-certificated staff, we do a very good job. And I thank the directors for really continuing to promote diversity in all of their departments. We have, in our department, for certificated staff, we have made a great leap, I think, based on the numbers from 22-23. Although we had a number of diverse applicants and hires, last year, 0 of them were what we would consider diverse. This year, 13 of our hirees, of our new hires, would fit into our diverse categories. It's a small drop in the bucket, which is why it's continue to meet, but we're promoting that, and you'll see for our goals for next year, it continues to expand. We're also working on and continue to work on eliminating implied or overt discrimination and bias. To that end, at the middle of this month, March 19th and 20th, I'll be presenting to our newer staff a workshop on unconscious bias. It's something that I've done in the past. I believe Ms. Bloom has seen me do it once or twice, because I know she always likes to see when I'm teaching. So Lucy, if you're not doing anything on March 19th or 20th, it'll be taking place in this room. And we're excited about that, not only because we're doing the presentation, but the number of people who have signed up to attend the presentation is it's a good number, and it means we're moving in the right direction. Recruiting and implementing recruitment and retention practices. Again, I can't quantify it, at least not yet. But what I can tell you is, as the board members, you know that I send district-wide an email stating that if folks are going to be leaving us for whatever reason, whether it's medical and maternity leaves or retirements or resignations, to please let us know in February so we can plan accordingly. And last year, by comparison, last year to this year, we have gotten a trickle as opposed to what we got hit with last year. That's promising. That means, I believe that means that we're headed in the right direction and that people are staying longer with us because we have a lot to offer. And we continue to make certain that we make that a priority. For our goals for 24-25, in order to continue that diverse hiring practice, we are developing a diverse coalition of teachers to collaborate with us to develop an action plan that will increase diverse hiring. What we're doing is good. We're beating the bushes to recruit and keep teachers on board. But I think that our own diverse hires, folks who have worked with us for a number of years, will help us set forth an even better goal for hiring on a diverse level. And that's what we're looking to do. We want our teachers to have a voice, and I think that this will provide them with a good voice for that type of hiring. We're also working with our students. Last year, we developed a high school student advisory and a middle school student advisory group, which in August I presented the data to the administrators, and in November I presented it to a large number of teachers. Basically, we wanted to see what we're doing through our students' eyes. And it was good. We've got the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I appreciated the honesty. Once students knew they were safe to say whatever they wanted within reason, they were very honest and oftentimes very complimentary, more often than not. But they did point out areas that either we didn't know about or we knew about and we didn't know that they knew about. And it's helped develop for each of those buildings, it's helped develop an action plan on how to remediate some of those issues. And obviously from our level in our office, it helps us develop professional development to meet and address some of those issues with our students. Because we were so successful at the two bigger schools, we promoted it this year, working with Mr. Tola and Stacy Coglanice, and we have a UES advisory council, which is eye-opening for a number of reasons. One, they're not as forthcoming. They still see, you know, even though the VP and the high school are both, the VP and the principal of the school are sitting in those meetings along with the teacher. When I start talking, they kind of look shy, laugh, giggle, which is fun. But one of the most eye-opening things with this group was them telling us what 2 years of COVID did to them and how it impacted their education and some of the things that we're overcoming. So it was eye-opening for us because for some of these students, they were in first and second grade, or kinder and first, during that time. And they had a lot of interesting things to say. Again, good, bad, and ugly. So we're moving to continue to utilize their information. This year was a benchmark. Next year, we'll be able to take what they provided us this year and make some changes at the UES. We're also looking to expand leadership capacity within the next 5 years. This is something that Dr. Labby and I discussed. As much as I would love to stay here forever, and some days it feels that way, September 9th, 2024 will mark the 20th anniversary of the opening of this building. I was the first principal of this building, to open that building, and I can't believe 20 years have passed. We have it is important, with all the gains that we have made over the last decade under Dr. Labby's leadership and under your leadership, that remains long after any of us are no longer here, as some of you would see. So one of the things that we're looking at is to promote our leadership, to take on not only the roles they're on in now, but also take on what roles would they like over the next 5 years? What roles do they think they'd like to tackle over the next 5 years? To do that, we have to set up first how many of those folks are looking to make those changes, and then work with them in a mentorship capacity to make certain that we have a transition of leadership from those of us over the next 5 years who may decide to retire to the beach, as you see on those pictures, versus those who are obviously going to hopefully choose to stay and continue to lead the district in the stewardship that we've come accustomed to. Some of the highlights, it's always on my year to year, the restructuring of the Human Resources Office for efficiency. And I will say that I believe that this year, if I was going to mark it complete, I would. I think that we now have a human resources department that is truly a department that works unified in our vision for making certain that we hire and retain the best. But also we have dedicated people in the office right now, so that it's not picking up who's coming in, who needs something. 2 out of the 3 folks that work in that office are sitting in the audience, and I can tell you that most of the things that we get done, and as quickly as we get them done, wouldn't happen without their dedication, their hard work, their willingness to stay late to meet somebody for an interview or to get paperwork in. I'm not going to read off what each person does, but you can see in the highlights that we have dedicated people now in a number of areas that has really sped up the process that we have in our office, minimizing mistakes or eliminating them completely, hiring people at a much faster rate, and retaining those hires at a much faster rate. And I really can't thank Jillian Flanagan, Karen Havens, and Valerie Bender enough for their dedication to that office. They do a phenomenal job, and they should be recognized for it. And I can't, and although David Stoller, to his department, I also have to thank Rosalind Gonzalez for the work she did in our office. in the brief time that she was with us. Couple of other highlights: we partnered with Ed Connective to provide teachers in district personalized coaching and mentoring for improvement, improvement of best practices utilized in the classroom. Yes, we have mentors and our first-year mentors, and I know Ms. Burt's going to speak about it, and our first-year teachers are mentored very well, especially in the type of program that's been developed and continues to work. But this was something we thought was extremely important. These were handpicked folks, about 40 teachers that we got outside mentors to work with. This was quantifiable, and the data that we got on the amount of work that these 40 teachers put in, what kind of changes have made, has been really incredible. Some teachers who might have been struggling either because they started during COVID or they just had one struggle or another, really took this one-on-one mentoring and coaching on a weekly basis, and administrators can tell you that the difference it made. It was literally night and day. We'd like to continue with it, but it definitely was one of the highlights this year of seeing the philosophy of making certain that teachers who are struggling don't struggle in silence and get some help to be successful, and that's what we've seen. We've successfully run 2 career fairs, one last May and one in January, that we're really proud of. We're so proud of them, and we think that they work so effectively that we're having one May 4th, Saturday from 9 to 2, shameless plug, but definitely worthwhile. We get some of, especially in our non-certificated areas, we get local folks who are coming out and working, working in the district. And we're getting a lot of, like I said, this school opened 20 years ago. Some of those people are coming back and saying, "You were my principal. I'd like to work for you as a teacher." And that's great, too.
What are they thinking?
They're thinking that this is the best place to work, Ms. Bloom, and they have one of the best principals in their lives.
Shameless plug.
Again, shameless plug. No, I think, again, it ties into what we were talking about before. We have teachers who have become vice principals, supervisors, and principals, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And to see a next generation of kids who have come through our schools who now want to give back to the community and back to our students by becoming teachers and hopefully guidance counselors and psychologists and so forth, I think it's important. And I've always promoted homegrown teachers. I always think that the best people to continue our schools and our community in the way we'd like is people who have gone through it. Once a bomber, always a bomber. I want them to live that. I want them to breathe that. And we have a bunch of teachers and a bunch of administrators that do. And I'm proud of that. And I think that it's something that we should continue to promote. Staffing needs, easy segue, staffing needs. Currently, because of that February email that I sent out, we have 3 positions that need to be filled at the high school in hard-to-fill areas. We currently know about 1 retirement at an elementary school, and we currently know of at least 4 leaves of absence throughout the district for the 24-25 school year. As far as new staffing, an increase in certificated staff. There would be at least 1 social studies teacher, a new financial literacy class, and 1 phys ed teacher at the high school. An increase in non-certificated staff. We're still trying to fill those 5 bus drivers for our 5 new buses, 1 bus aide, because our fleet has gotten so large, 1 mechanic, and finally 1 transportation part-time secretary. And that's my end of it, and I will turn it over to Ms. Burt.
Okay. Good evening, Ms. Bloom, Board of Ed, Dr. Labby, Central Office team, and guests. I'd like to start with the professional development goals for 23-24. Since I've come into the district, our vision has really been to provide meaningful, customized professional development for all stakeholders within the district. And I believe that in order to do so, it's a very collaborative effort amongst administration, teachers, secretaries, staff, everyone in the district. Really getting input from everyone is super valuable into creating meaningful professional development learning experiences. Also, we've had the pleasure this year of really empowering our staff in the district as well as our administration. We had several staff and administration present at our Staff Development Day on November 7th, and it really was a innovative, meaningful day that allowed us to customize a lot of different sessions due to needs and suggestions from our staff. To collaborate with administration, district staff, external consultants to offer these ongoing professional learning opportunities. It's really important to me that it's not just, a one-time deal and done, that we continue to provide consistent professional development and support to our administration, to our staff, so everyone can continue to grow. And to encourage genuine reflection and feedback from everyone in the district. So we've done a lot of surveys. I've had a lot of great discussions with, I try to talk to as many people as I can within the district, just to really get feedback, because I always believe no matter what you're doing, you can always continue to do it better, the next time or the following time. And while I do believe these goals were met, I think they're really important to continue providing high quality, meaningful professional learning development sessions. So while they were met, I will continue to look to achieve them in future years. Now I'm going to talk about the professional development highlights. As you can see, Chris, you want to type that? So it put a timeline together of all the professional development that has been offered from July to February. And I'd like to start with our new staff orientation. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. We did provide a survey to our staff after the new staff orientation. I'm going to provide some of that feedback in future slides. We also updated our 23-24 District Professional Development Plan that was submitted to the Department of Education in accordance and in alignment with the new professional development standards. We have our mentor induction coordinator support, which I can't talk enough about. They're the leaders in our buildings who are helping. They're the ones with boots on the ground in our buildings, really supporting our new teachers with any types of questions that they may have, running meetings and answering their day-to-days to help them get acclimated to their buildings. Our district instructional coach, Ms. Rose Griggs, has been amazing. She started in her position on July 1st, but really working to build relationships. She has a very large following at the middle school, and she's really worked to get out to the schools and do different events at each school to build relationships with all of the staff, pre-K to 12. And also something when I came into the district that I was passionate about was working to build a virtual professional learning library. So I think we've built the beginning stages of that this year, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. But Chris, if you don't mind clicking on the Wakelet. Okay. This is just one example. So when you build a Wakelet, it has the options and columns to, and we have it for Sayreville University, but it's has columns and information for all this staff development that we've done this year. And this one particular screen that Chris is showing right now is the new staff presentations that all of the presenters who presented for new staff orientation, we collected them, we put them in a library all in one place for everybody to reference throughout the year. And it's through Sayreville University because I know that we've been working to build that up again after COVID, so we thought this was a good way to do that. So that is for everyone's reference. And then you'll see as we move forward in the timeline, we had our opening days of school staff development under September and October, and our keynote speaker, Dr. Michael Salvatore. And we were able to start our new teacher workshops. We've been offering several new teacher workshops this year on an abundance of different topics, from data to classroom management to culture and climate, all topics we've discussed with new teachers that they felt would be helpful to them. And then we started our PLCs in October, and we really started our work with our professional due to, well, being fortunate in getting a lot of our grant money. We were focusing on our professional learning consultants. So that's when we started really all the conversations about setting times and dates for all of the consultants mentioned there, Dr. Kenneth Coons, Dr. Eric Mailu, as Dr. Aguiles mentioned, at Connective, working with our staff. So that's when those relationships started and classroom visits started as well. And then you'll see, under each month, you will see district instructional coach, mentor induction coordinator, and Sayreville University, because we've been working to build that since July. In November and December, we had our November 7th Staff Development Day, and we continued our PLCs and new teacher workshops. And then just to note, for February, we've been doing a lot of CPI training, but we were able to do an additional CPI training this year on February 8th in February. Okay, moving on to the next slide. It's a slide on our staff development day for November 7th. We were able to host 110 in-person and or virtual professional learning sessions. We had 3 sessions on that day for the staff to select 3 choices. Again, we had many of our administrators present, many of our staff members present, as well as our external consultants presented on that day. Some of the sessions, just to point out, we had Right to Know for our custodial staff. We had our webinar for our National School Lunch Program for our food services. We did a lot of pilots with ORCAM, with our special ed and our ESL. Ms. Eileen Javenko, who's in the audience right now, led Effective School Solutions for all our district secretaries. We had Ms. Bloom present on glass etching, which was a very popular hit. And of course, our content areas, implementing Project Read with confidence, Math Magic, and takeaway activities. So it was a very diverse set of offerings through the collaboration of everyone in the district to put and make valuable experiences. Next slide is under ESS, Effective School Solutions and Pilot Programs. So this year we were able to offer 2 parent workshops and 4 new teacher workshops in consulting. With Effective School Solutions, we were able to take our professional development and split them up between parents and new teachers. So the topics are listed there. And then under pilot programs and things that we started this year, we've had Beluga, which is a virtual streaming content, and we've had 3 different pilot groups piloting that, which we've talked about. They've provided an extensive amount of professional development free of charge at department meetings, content area trainings, and also administrator trainings. And then also we've been piloting the Lincoln Intervention Manager, and we've had 5 of our 6 professional development sessions so far. And I'm in the process, we piloted from January to June. So it's been a great experience, and we've been collecting feedback, and I've been going out to the schools to visit and do my best to support all of the schools as we move through the pilot, and that's going very well. Okay, we look to finish the year strong. I included some of the feedback from our professional development sessions on Staff Development Day, new staff orientation, and new teacher workshops. We did provide surveys to the staff for each of those. So I just, in order to save time, I just selected 1 or 2 to share with you. Under our Staff Development Day, one of our responders said, "All of my sessions were very informative. I've learned a lot, and then I can bring into my classroom immediately. Thank you for a great day." Great opportunity to get the staff in one place to go over safety, general requirements, updates, and Q&A, and that was Mr. Jeffrey Sprague. I think he's back there. He did a safety presentation for us. And the classes I attended presented useful information and interesting aspects to bring into the classroom. My favorite was Math Magic. I learned many useful center ideas and so many different ways to innovate my math lessons. I was able to take some of the techniques the very next day, and it turned my lesson into more engaging ones. Thank you. Okay. If we were to look at new staff orientation, two of the comments were, felt very inclusive and welcoming. Listening to numerous staff speak about their experiences in the district was very extremely comforting. And then my favorite was the experience I had at new teacher orientation, and the staff members that I met throughout the process confirmed that I made the best decision starting my teacher career at Sayreville. And then for new teacher workshops, the presenter made this session very collaborative and engaging and informative. I enjoyed it very much. And I really enjoyed this workshop. They did a great job showing us how to locate different types of data within Linkit and gave great ideas for how to use that data to guide our instruction. Thank you. So we'll continue to build off of that data and continue to collaborate on our future professional development sessions. And moving ahead in the year, we are currently planning for our June 4th Staff Development Day, and we are beginning to plan a summer learning series. So on June 4th, we will have 2 professional development sessions, and then we will have a PLC showcase in the afternoon. And then for the summer learning series, the team is still working on working with a lot of our consultants that we currently work with. That's why we listed 2 weeks there. But in the consultants we're working with are, talking to their teams to see if they're available on those dates. So it is in the beginning stages, but those are the 2 weeks that we have currently spoken about in our meetings. And they will be 90-minute sessions, and the staff would sign up via Google Form, but it's a voluntary experience, just extra support for anybody that would like to come. And we were able to set aside some funding in our Title II grant to pay for some of the staff that would be able to come. And then looking ahead for goals for 24-25, I'm just really, it's really important to me to encourage staff to provide us feedback so we can continue to always do better. In surveys, I've had a lot of great talks with our new teachers after observing them about, sessions that would really help them get acclimated to the district and moving ahead for them in year 2. Continue to focus on making it meaningful and innovative through our local and grant funds. As I mentioned earlier, to continue to build the virtual professional learning library. And then Dr. Aguiles and I have worked, we're going to be redesigning the PLC framework. And we have set aside money in our Title II grant to bring in district representatives to help us in a collaborative format redesign our PLC framework. And then in regards to the budget for 24 to 24-25, nothing new has been added, but that does include the cost of our out-of-district presenters, in-district staff presenters, funding for staff for their registrations to go out of district to attend PD, reimbursements for staff travel, professional development supplies, and reimbursement for professional dues or fees. And that is a combination of our grant funds and our local funds. And I just thank you for providing that so we can offer meaningful professional development to our staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any questions for either Dr. Aguiles or Ms. Bird?
On the 19th, 20th, what time are you going to be here?
The 19th is 2 sessions at 8:30 and 12. On the 20th, it's 9 a.m. and 12.
Thank you.
I would definitely like to think that as we're expanding all the professional development and the fantastic things we're doing for staff, that it's definitely reflective of what you said, Dr. Aguiles, about the less number of staff that have sent in notice to leave the district so far this year, that we're making it worthwhile for our staff to stay in district.
Yeah, I think part of it definitely was, the COVID bubble, and I think that's burst, and I'm grateful for that because it was a tough number of years. But yeah, I do believe also that we have, we're a new, new direction, the innovations that we're bringing forth, and the amount of work we're doing with our staff continues to grow from year to year. And again, that comes from the leadership, and it also comes from our ability to learn from students, what they're looking for from their teachers, and also what teachers are looking for from the district. So I think all these things blend together. I've always been proud of being part of Sayreville, and I continue to work toward that goal of making certain that we always have the best, we always have the brightest, we always have the strongest, schools, so that our students continue to be as successful as they have been over the last, at least under me, over the last 22 years.
That's great.
I have a question. Do we do any, like, workplace engagement surveys? Like, for example, I know the one that we do at my place of employment is best places to work. Is there an educational, like, equivalent to that, or like a survey where that measures, all the things that you guys are working very hard to achieve that could then be compared to other, school districts?
We've done culture and climate surveys. Not sure that the data that we collect can be used to compare with other school districts, because there's not one universal culture and climate survey that everyone uses. We have used the New Jersey Department of Education surveys at times, but it's hard for us to go ahead and compare that data to anyone else's data, because we have to see other school districts if they actually done those surveys. So there's not a universal survey that all school districts use to compare data with. However, the data from those culture and climate surveys is great for us to gauge where we are and where we need to go.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.
All right, so we're moving along to technology and security. At this time, I ask Mr. Glock-Malloy to begin his presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Before getting into the heart of our presentation tonight, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize those that are out here tonight supporting the departments. Obviously, as we do every board meeting, we have our campus monitors under Mr. Sprague here this evening, as well as Ms. Seta, who is our office support for both security and technology. Joining us as well tonight from our technology department, Mr. Rice, one of our engineers who is always here. We have our director of technology and our supervisor of technology, Mike and Chris, here today. Another one of our engineers, Matt, and one of our information specialists, Eileen Giovanco, here tonight. So we have quite a showing, as well as our other technicians, engineers, and campus monitors who are on the forefront of our technology and security operations day in and day out. With that, taking a look at some of our achievements for this year that are either achieved or in progress as we move through the year. As has been the case for the last number of years, we've been able to maintain both our device life cycle, which includes both our front-end and back-end technologies, as well as our one-to-one devices for students and instructional staff. We've continued throughout the course of the year, as was one of our major goals for the current budget cycle we're in, to increase our physical network security, not just the digital end, but the physical front of that with our switches, our access points, and other key critical pieces of network and infrastructure technology. We have continued to roll out our upgrade and replacement of our interactive boards. Again, we've had interactive boards originally in the form of smart boards in our classrooms for many years. We've been moving over to those interactive flat panels. Board members in the audience, we happen to have one in the back of the room that we use here for presentations if you would like an example of what we've been deploying out in the classrooms. We are nearly finished with a full upgrade of our district network switching infrastructure. All schools are currently complete. The only school that is pending completion at this point is the high school, and we hope to have that completed within the next several weeks. We also were able to complete this year, as part of our ongoing multi-year upgrades to our public address systems in our school, the Truman School is completed, which leaves just the Samsel School, which will be on next year's budgetary cycle. and then all of our school buildings will have an updated public address system within them. And critical to our technology projects and goals, this kind of catch-all at the bottom, to maintain and update our district cybersecurity response plan, inclusive of implementing additional cybersecurity systems and procedures. While I don't want to get into specific details of our cybersecurity plan, we've done a lot to increase that front, both on the infrastructure side, on the digital cybersecurity side, as well as on the educational side. Cybersecurity has become much more than just the technology department. It has become a need for responsibility and work from our staff at all levels, as well as our students. To that end, two things that we are going to be launching imminently that I do feel comfortable discussing. We will, later this month, be launching our GoGuardian parent portal for our web filtering technology. That will give our parents that choose to opt into that program some insight into what their students are doing on district-issued devices or district-issued accounts, both during the school day and after school. This not only helps on the cybersecurity front, it also helps on the academic front, keeping our students on task and on target, particularly during homework times. It also helps on the mental health front when we have students that search potentially concerning content on the internet. It will help involve the parents in that role, as well as our existing staff that have been using this technology internally to address all of these items, from our teachers to our administrators to our guidance counselors. In addition to that, we're going to be rolling out a new communication platform. We're going to be doing a soft rollout of Parent Square with our administrators and some other key staff over the next several weeks. We'll be doing a full rollout for our parent community over the course of the summer. This will give our community as a whole a better methodology and a single platform for communicating back and forth between schools and the parent community. And it'll allow our parents to filter that communication in a more effective manner. Communication obviously being a key part of both our technological security as well as our physical security and our academic process overall. Taking a look on the security side of things, again, there's a lot of similarities here, but we've been able to maintain our access control, communication, security infrastructure, continuing to fund all of our licenses, programs, and systems within the district. We were able to achieve this year full staffing for all of our buildings with 2 shifts of campus monitors. Depending on our events, that has become increasingly beneficial so that we can have campus monitors staffed at evening events across the district where needed. We were able to complete our district technology communications plan in partnership with the borough and with the police department so that we have a unified communications infrastructure. The only school that we have not rolled out the radios to yet is Truman School. They are still operating on their old functional radio system. They are not without a radio system. We held off on upgrading them to the new radio system until we completed their public address system. So they're imminently going to be rolled to our new radio system as well. We continue, as always, to drill and refine our reunification and emergency management plans. Our principals, Mr. Sprague, and all of our staff truly work on this through drills and procedures throughout the course of the school year. We did this year implement fully the required NJDOE threat assessment and management program and teams within each of our schools, as well as one at the district level. We've begun to have meetings, plans, approaches, and utilize specific software to aid with this process. So not only are we in compliance with the NJDOE mandate, but we've taken these teams and this management process, and we've really used it to enhance our internal response protocols for any form of threats that we perceive for the school district. Taking a look moving forward and the core of our budget presentation this evening, obviously some of our key pieces, we would like to maintain our device lifecycle and our one-to-one instructional and staff and student devices. That's critical to our educational process as well as our back-end infrastructure. Cybersecurity, does not stop. It is an ever-changing and evolving process, so we will continue to evolve our response plan. We will continue to roll out enhanced cybersecurity features and systems as we are able to and as we deem necessary throughout the district. We'll also continue to roll out educational programs and trainings for our staff and students on best cybersecurity practices, both for what they do here in the district as well as their own personal lives, as cybersecurity does not stop when you go home for the day. We are looking to continue our multi-year plan to increase physical network security, again, our switches and other back-end infrastructure. We are looking to continue rolling out our interactive boards, either replacements or upgrades throughout the district, throughout our classrooms. As we did this year, and as we are looking to continue to do in the future, fund our AR and VR programs, both at potentially the middle school as well as the high school. And we're looking to secure funding for technology integration facilitator stipends in each schools. Board members that have been with us for a few years, you've seen a variation of this in prior presentations and strategic plan presentations. We had a technology integration teacher who retired last year, and we worked to kind of repurpose that role to a more effective methodology for going forward in the future, where instead of one technology integration teacher that is responsible for the entire district, we're looking to take our existing teachers, not take them out of the classroom, but allow our technology specialists within each building who have knowledge of the programs and the procedures and the student environment, as well as the teachers at each level, to give those specific teachers a stipend to share those resources and work collaboratively with the district professional development teams, as well as the district technology department, to really fully integrate technology in the best possible ways and to meet the needs at the age level and at the building level, as opposed to just trying to do a one-stop solution for the entire district. So this is a variation on what you've seen in prior presentations. Looking at our security department, again, some of the common goals that you see year to year: maintain our access control, communication, security camera infrastructure. It's critical to what we do here, protecting our students and staff each and every day. Continue to our progress on our multi-year public address system, again, SAMHSA being the last school in that process, which we hope to do next year. As always, our drill and reunification plans will continue to evolve, much like our cybersecurity plans. We look to maintain our campus security monitor coverage in our two-shift methodology. We are looking to, again, much like on our technology side, implement additional enhanced security procedures. Not specific items that I'm going to discuss during the presentation, but as with cybersecurity, our physical security in the district is ever evolving to threats as they move forward, not only locally, but state, nationally, internationally, and we need to continue to advance our own security procedures to meet those goals virtually every day. Increase our emergency response readiness supplies at each school. In the event that we ever do have an emergency situation in our school, we want to make sure that we have the buildings and the classrooms appropriately staffed and stocked with all necessary supplies. We are hoping to work in coordination with the borough and the police department to bring an elementary school student resource officer into the district next year. We do currently have our middle school and high school student resource officer, and we do have our police officers in each and every building throughout the course of the day, but we are looking to bring in an additional SRO who will not be tagged to any one elementary school, but will work between the district and the police department to coordinate a rotation throughout the school district to provide that true community resource connection with our police department, our staff, our administration, our students at those elementary levels. And we are also, as our transportation department presented in the last meeting, looking to implement some enhanced transportation systems as far as GPS connectivity management and accountability systems within our transportation infrastructure, specifically our school buses. So looking at those items, what we were able to fund in the initial round of budget procedures and what we are asking the board to consider restoring as we move through the budgetary process. We are currently maintained in the budget continued support for our hardware, software licensing contracts, lease agreements, as well as our technology staff. We are currently supporting the funding to maintain and enhance our cybersecurity plans, procedures, and programs, as well as our physical network security. What we would ask the board to consider restoring into the budgetary process, we do not currently have funding in the budget for our one-to-one devices for staff or students into next year, which has become critical to our educational process. We do not currently have funding in place for our interactive board replacements. While we do have boards in every classroom, in the majority of our classrooms, they do wear out and they become less functional year over year. So it is critical that we keep moving and replacing those as with any other device, having a structured life cycle for those interactive boards. There were several academic software programs specific to the high school and middle school that were cut from the budget in the initial process. We are not currently funding the AR/VR programs for next year. We would like to look to restore that, specifically at the high school. We really would like to target that esports lab if we have to target specific areas of that virtual reality, augmented reality program. We think that's really the next wave of the program for the district. There were some specific pieces of technology maintenance equipment. There are currently processes that we're outsourcing as far as destruction of certain material, some diagnostic material for our fiber optic networks. We bring in outside departments and agencies to do that. Our technology department had recommended that if we did one-time purchases for some of this equipment, we could bring that in-house and not recognize a recurring cost year over year for certain destruction of hardware and certain diagnostic of our network technology. And then, as I spoke about a few minutes ago, our technology facilitator stipends, it's not part of the technology budget, that's part of Dr. Aguiles's budget as a human resource item, but we feel that that would be a critical piece to furthering not only the technology usage in our classrooms, but also aiding in the professional development department as they roll out new softwares, procedures, and programs throughout the district. Looking over on our security side, far less red on this side. We are able to currently maintain in the budget our support for our existing security hardware, software, and licensing infrastructures. We do have the funding in place pending budget approval for the public address system for Samsel School. All of our current reunification, emergency management, and emergency response programs, our campus monitors, several of those enhanced security procedures that we're looking to move forward, as well as the elementary school SRO, which is only partially our responsibility. The borough would also have to move forward on that piece, so we don't have full control over whether that moves forward. What we do not currently have funded on the security side is the enhanced transportation system, and I know that Patrick had gone through this in great detail during his budget, but the board had had some questions over the specific dollar amounts of varying pieces. So without rehashing what Patrick went through in his presentation, the final slide tonight with technology and security breaks down some of those items that the transportation department had focused on in their presentation. Specifically, the Sayreville fleet management. The cost there is both an increase as well as an adjustment, because we do have specific programs that the transportation department noted that are handling some of those services. But the transportation department felt that Sayreville is going to better meet the needs of our district, inclusive of being able to provide some cellular service to our buses, which open up the door for those Wayfinder tablets that the transportation department put forward in their presentations. Those, for anyone that needs a refresher, those would be the devices on each bus that would allow students to check on and off as they board and leave a bus. So we really do have that real-time information at the administrative level of not only where is the bus, but where are the students on those buses. Originally, we had looked in combination with transportation, technology, and security at how we would provide communication to the buses to support those Wayfinder programs. So you can see at the bottom of that slide an alternative cellular option. That concept required us buying the hotspots for each bus as well as the data plan annually. What Patrick was able to discover in his research was that by adjusting the plan for Samsara, they would be able to provide that cellular service to power the Wayfinder tablets as well. So if we went with Samsara as a fleet management with cellular service, that eliminates the need for us to invest in dedicated cellular routers and data plans for those buses. One other item that was a potential from Transportation's presentation, which is not directly connected to either Samsara or to the Wayfinder tablets, was the possibility of upgrading the video camera infrastructure on the buses to provide real-time feeds back to the Transportation Department while the buses are on the road, and that is that Angel Tracks upgrade. We do have a robust camera system on our buses right now and a robust communication system on our buses. That information is readily available to our Transportation Department. This would just give them further insight into what's going on the buses. And I don't want to speak for the Transportation Department, but speaking from the technology and the security side of things, anytime we have the ability to increase the efficiency of a software program and decrease the costs, which Samsara does compared to the current technology that we are using, that's always a benefit from the technology side of things. The Wayfinder tablets, giving that insight into where our individual students are and making sure that the correct students are on the correct buses, that's an invaluable piece from security, not only from transportation, but to know, where those students are and be able to pull that information up immediately, at the click of a button, instead of calling to a school, calling to the Transportation Department, getting on the radio with the bus driver. Transportation does a fantastic job of managing where the buses are, where the students are, who's on what route, but having that insight real time into, who stepped onto each and every bus and when did they step off is invaluable from a security aspect. So on that note,
I have a question.
absolutely.
Net. If you took just the Samsara fleet management portion and the Wayfinder tablets portion, what's the annual cost?
Aaron, I know you did that the other day. Mr. Esposito, if you give me 2 seconds,
Yeah.
I'll add that up real quickly, or I'll just spot that. We're looking at round number 50 on the Samsara side when we take out Zonar, and then we're looking at,
So we said about $150,000.
yeah.
That was the startup.
For all of it?
So on the Samsara side, you're looking at about 50,000 increase. On the Wayfinder tablets, you're looking at 75. You're looking at about 100,000 in one-time cost, a little over 100,000 in one-time cost, and then about 17,000 annual service.
17,000
17.
every year after.
Correct. So roughly total all in, right around that 150 mark.
Gotcha.
Rounding numbers, not exact numbers.
Got it.
Oh,
Sounds good.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Is that going to be funded this year?
Currently, the transportation system is not funded in the budget. That is one item that we are asking for restoration as we move through the budgetary process.
So if
Yeah.
you're asking for a sneak preview of what we've added back into the budget, is that what you're asking, Mrs. Bobo?
Yeah, specifically for this, yes?
Yes.
All right, good. Because I was going to say, after we go through all of this, getting all our buses, owning them, having the reason behind it being the safety of the children, this just makes our case that we did the right thing.
This will
And
be
we put our
one
money
item.
where the mouth is.
Based upon the state aid figures that we got, this is one of the items that we brought back.
All right, good.
And specifically, we're asking for restoration of the fleet management, the cellular service, the Wayfinder tablets. Not at this point the AI cameras, not at this point the live video feeds, but the Wayfinder and the fleet management along with the cellular
We
service.
completely agree that it's invaluable. I would say at least 24 times a year, we have a situation at the middle school, upper elementary school, or the elementary school where a child is missing for a brief period of time. And normally, it's because the child decides to go home with his or her friends on another bus. This is instantaneous. We'll know exactly where that child is.
Good.
Other
Excellent.
questions?
Silly question, not related to transportation part of it. What is the difference between a school resource officer and a police officer that we have in the elementary schools currently?
The big piece is training. School resource officers have specific training. It's not part of our training. That's something that they do through the police department and through the state. They are trained in working with school communities, working with students and parents specifically. It's an above and beyond training, beyond your regular patrol officer. And it gives them, that additional piece within that law enforcement infrastructure to work within the school community to strengthen, that connection between what is going on in the schools and what's going on in the town, and having that information readily available so that we, as the school district and the security department here, can interact best with them for the safety and security of our students and the benefit of our community.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
I think this is the longest presentation you ever did.
I know,
Sorry,
I know.
I blame transportation. I had to add a slide just for them.
It was good, though, because Pat didn't complain once.
No.
Thank you very much, Eric. Anybody else?
Thank you.
No? Okay, excellent. All righty, moving on to board discussion. Governance Committee, Mrs. Napolitano, please.
Okay. During the meeting, we reviewed revisions to the several Board of Education policies and regulations that we will ask you to approve for a first reading this Tuesday and a second reading on March 19th. We decided to table one of them, and we will ask you to approve it for a first reading on March 19th and a second reading on April 2nd. Next, we discussed the revisions to the 23-24 school district calendar that would make April 22nd an early dismissal so the staff can participate in professional development. After that, Ms. Badami and Mr. Gluckowski discussed the implementation of the Athletic Hall of Fame and eventually a Performing Arts Hall of Fame at the high school.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Napolitano? No? All righty. Student achievement, Mr. Callahan, are you ready?
Last Tuesday afternoon, the Student Achievement Committee met. During the meeting, Mrs. Grossman reviewed the new curriculum guides that they're on the agenda to be approved tonight. That would include stained glass. I know that's near and dear to somebody's heart on here. World history, college prep, and pre-calculus. She also gave us an update on the assessments, all those good acronyms, WIDA, NJ, GPA, NJ, SLA, all those, as well as the NJ DOE Seal of Biliteracy. I believe we had 10 recipients for the class of 2024, which is the fourth highest amount since 2019. Next, we had Ms. Burke provided us updates on professional development, all the current interventions, innovations, and current and future grant opportunities, including the leftover funds that we're going to use for the NJ High Impact Tutoring Grants to provide some extra tutoring for students at the schools. And then also on tonight's agenda addendum, they're seeking approval for the application for the new Teacher Climate and Cultural Innovation Grant. And then Mr. Nasser informed the committee that they've selected the Sunday Systems as the new special ed alternative literacy development program that will be implemented next school year.
Next school year, K through 3 or K through 5.
And then Mr. Glock-Malloy was talking about what he talked about earlier, the Go Parent portion of Go Guardian, as well as Parent Square. And as Walter Cronkite said, that's the way it is.
Any questions for Mr. Callahan?
Great job, Mr. Callahan.
Great job, Chris, thank you. Okay, Middlesex County School Board Association updates. Tomorrow night will be our virtual meeting, so if you plan on attending, you should have registered, or you probably still can before tomorrow night. I know you're all excited to do that. And then, in April, on April 18th, we will have the County of Middlesex Unsung Heroes Banquet, which will be held at Old Bridge High School, as it was last year, April 18th, Thursday. And 2 students have been selected, one 11th grader and one 12th grader from our school, and we have 30-some-odd districts, and I believe 20-something responded. So even with that, we have districts that don't respond, so,
But it's a great evening.
yeah, it is. It's a lovely evening. Okay, that's it for me. And then, Ms. Napolitano, you again?
Yes.
Educational Services Commission.
So we discussed the 24-25 budget, the selection of 2 MC, SBA, and MC ASA unsung heroes, one of which is from Sayreville, and we went over the Read Across America activity schedule for this week.
Okay, that's it?
That's it.
All righty, thank you. Any questions? No? All righty. At this time, we will open for public participation on agenda items only. Anybody from public? Seeing none, we will close public and turn it over to Dr. Labby.
Thank you, Mrs. Bloom. So if I can bring your attention to page 2, Finance and Infrastructure. Number 1, we're asking you to accept a very generous donation of a portable sound system valued at nearly $6,000 from the Samsel Upper Elementary School PTO to be used by the Samsel Upper Elementary School. And just a quick note on that PTO, they had a tricky tray last Friday that was magnificent. If you've ever had the chance to go to their tricky trays, they must have given away 300 gifts, some of them valued as high as $1,000 or more. It's quite remarkable, and that's where they come up with some of the great fundraising that they do here for the students, including this portable sound system, which is just magnificent. Number 4, which you can also find on page 2, we're asking you to approve the sale of a National Seating and Mobility Power Wheelchair to the Phillipsburg School District in the amount of $3,046 and some change. And this is a great act by Mr. Nasser and Ms. Hill to go ahead and get some money back for a piece of equipment that we bought in accordance with the child's IEP that we no longer need, and now we get some return in that investment, which I think is brilliant. Number 6, which you can find on page 3, we're asking to award the bid for the windows replacement at Sayreville War Memorial High School, the Upper Elementary School here, the Truman Elementary School, and the Woodrow Wilson Elementary School to APS Contracting. They were the lowest bidder, and those bids were opened on February 15th in the total amount of $5,336,000. And of course, that is being paid for through the referendum. Believe it or not, folks, we have just 3 more bids left with the referendum, and we just received approval from the Department of Education to release the bid for the high school, which is by far going to be our biggest bid. So we're moving along at high speed here. It's getting very exciting. Number 14, which you can find in the addendum, Mr. Callahan mentioned it earlier. We're asking you to approve the submission of that Teacher Climate and Culture Innovation Grant. And as he said, the key goals for the Teacher Climate and Culture Innovation Grant include exploring innovation, improving teacher climate and culture, and empowering outstanding educators. And we thank Ms. Burt, along with a number of other people, including Dr. Aguiles, that worked real hard to put that grant together. I believe that is our 4th non-entitlement grant that we've asked you to approve this year, and hopefully that we get awarded to us. Any questions on anything else, those items, as well as anything else on finance and infrastructure?
One question. Has there been any discussion amongst BAs, superintendents, about the lunacy of taking the lowest bid? Because, you know, it's somewhere in the middle is probably where it should be, right? When you're a homeowner, that's kind of what you do. Has there been any discussion on that?
Well, I don't know if there's discussion, but we all hate it.
I know
You can try to develop your rubric to assist you, but it really goes to the lowest bidder. I don't know if you want to add more to that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're doing something that's for, some kind of goods or services like that, you just have to go with the lowest bidder. We have competitive contracting, that's really for more professional services, not for construction. I mean, I've never heard anybody talking about it. I can't imagine the state going back on it. That's, all state agencies have to do that.
It's tough, though. It's a struggle.
It's a struggle, I'm sure, yeah.
But isn't the key word lowest responsible bidder? Because you shared with me that if you have information that a bidder is low, but he's not reliable, then they can reject it, so. They do have that
So-
option.
That is correct. It's responsive and responsible. So responsive means that they have to have all of the paperwork within that bid. So there have been times in the past where we've rejected bids because they weren't responsive. There were bids in this one that we would have done that for, but they weren't the lowest bidder, so we don't have to do that. But when it comes to responsible, there's a high burden of proof there. So if we have a prior experience with that vendor, then absolutely. But if it's, you know, somebody else 3 years ago in another area, that would be very difficult for us to prove.
Especially if we have,
Too
at
bad.
one point or another, pulled their performance bid bond, then definitely we can go ahead and reject it. But again, that threshold or burden
Yeah.
is quite high.
But correct me though, if one of the bidders thinks it was this, you know, there's no way that contractor could have done that for X, Y, and Z, he can ask, right, for an open bid to see if there's that big a difference,
Do you mean to review the bids?
to review the bids,
Oh,
yeah.
they do, and they do. I mean, they open request me almost
Right.
every time.
They check each other, right, of course, right.
Absolutely. We stay after, some of them come up, they flip through, they check for signatures. We've had in the past where, before we even had a chance to review the package, one of the contractors immediately sent us a letter saying they don't have X, Y, and Z. And he was correct, so.
Lowest bidder.
Yep.
Gotta love it.
Good questions. Anything else? Okay, I'll turn your attention to student achievement, beginning on page 6, number 1. We're asking you to approve the Advanced Placement Boot Camp, which, if you don't already know, is an enrichment program at the high school for students who will be taking AP courses for the next school year. And the boot camp is going to take place from July 1st through August 8th. And they're actually 2 or 3 hour sessions. And this is funded by federal grant money. Number 2, which you also can find on page 6, we're asking you to approve another boot camp, the New Jersey Graduation Performance Assessment Boot Camp. And that also will take place in the summer from July 8th through July 18th at the high school. Students needing to participate in the summer administration of the New Jersey Graduation Performance Assessment will be invited to participate in this particular program. Number 3, which you can also find on page 6, we're asking you to approve the new and revised curriculum guides that Mr. Callahan referenced earlier. That would be the grades 10 through 12 AP Pre-Calculus Guide, the grades 11 through 12 Stained Glass Guide, as well as the grade 9 World History Guide. Any questions on those items? Seeing none, I'll move along to governance. Let's begin on page 9. Number 2, we're asking you to approve a revision to the 2023-2024 school district calendar that Mrs. Napolitano mentioned earlier. It would make April 22nd, 2024 an early dismissal date for students so that our staff can participate in professional development. Number 3, which you can also find on page 9, we're asking to abolish Board of Education Policy 5755, Equity in Educational Programs and Services. This is because we've gone ahead and given you another policy that will supersede that policy. And speaking of that, number 4, again, this was referenced earlier by Mrs. Napolitano. We're asking to approve the revisions to multiple Board of Education policies and regulations for first reading during this meeting, and then we'll ask you to go ahead and approve them for a second reading and adoption on March 19th. And finally, number 5, which you can find on page 10, we're asking you to approve the rezoning of the following buildings within the Winding Woods Apartments. That's 18 through 19, 43 through 48, 61 through 69, and 129 through 131 to reduce class sizes at the Truman School, and of course to create equitable class sizes across all grade levels in the elementary schools. This will begin with kindergarten in the 2024-2025 school year, kindergarten in first grade in the 2025-2026 year, kindergarten through second grade in 2026-2027 school year, and it will conclude with the kindergarten through third grade in 2027-2028. Any questions on those items in governance?
Before the decision was made to, you know, what'd you do? So what was the word you used?
Rezone.
Rezone, thank you, I'm sorry. Were parents consulted, like, is now your kid's gonna go here versus here? Were they,
No, not yet, because we're starting with new students. We're starting with kindergarten students. And we will be giving great consideration to those parents that already have another child in the Truman School. So if your child's going to kindergarten next year, but they have a older, child that's in the Truman School, they'll be allowed to remain, their child will be allowed to go to the Truman School. We don't want to separate families, nor do we want to take children out of a school. So that's why we built in this process of starting with just kindergarten this year, then kindergarten first grade the next year, kindergarten second grade. So these are all new students to the school. In total, it will mean a difference of, after that 4-year period, 50 students. So it's about 5 students a year that will go to another elementary school. Actually, 10 a year, 5 to one school, 5 to the next. And again, this will help out the Truman School. If you've been to the Truman School, it was built as one of those open concept schools in the 1970s. If you've been on the Board of Education long enough here, you know that about 6 years ago, we paid to make permanent partitions in the Truman School. However, when we did so, those classrooms became smaller. By square footage, they're probably the smallest classrooms in the district, yet the class sizes are the highest along with the Wilson School. That's why we're very considerate about this. When you have, for instance, there's about 26 kids in a class in our first grade classrooms. That's a lot of kids in that small space. So that's why we're trying to divert just a small amount of students to the other elementary schools where there's a little bit more space in the
Gotcha.
classroom.
I saw a mass migration.
No, it's not a lot of kids.
No.
It's just enough kids,
Nobody else saw that?
just enough kids to level off the class sizes
Okay, great,
that need to
thank
be
you.
done. Good question. All right, anything else? Okay, so let's go to personnel. Mr. Walsh, we do have one of those bittersweet moments. We have 2 dear staff members that we have to say goodbye to. That would be Michael Kuligowski, who is a custodian at the Sayreville School, as well as Joan Sylvester, who is a district bus aide. Mike Kuligowski started his career with the Sayreville Board of Education in July of 2005. During his time as a custodian at the high school, middle school, and the Sayreville School, Mike has shown dedication to his work and kindness to those around him. His reliability will certainly be missed by all who have had the pleasure of working with him. We hope Mike's retirement is full of happy times, relaxation, and enjoying trips to Lancaster and Cape May with his wife. Congratulations, Mike, and thank you so much for the outstanding service to our district. Joan Sylvester. Joan Sylvester is a bus aide, and she started with the district in 2001, so she's been an incredible bus aide for our district for 23 years. And I guess the best way I can describe Joan to you is she sent me her retirement letter, and it was one sentence. Basically, it said, Dr. Labby, thank you for giving me the opportunity to work in the Sayreville Public Schools for the past 23 years. I am officially announcing my retirement. And that's her. Joan came to work every day. Very rarely would Joan ever call out. For 23 years, she dedicated herself to the students that she served so well. And most of that time were actually, students with disabilities who really needed her care. And she provided her undivided attention to them and love during every trip to school and back home. In fact, if you spoke to parents, they all thanked and appreciated her so much for everything that she did for their children. The kids loved her, and our staff admired her for her dedication and professionalism. So she is someone that we too are going to dearly miss, but just like Mr. Kuligowski, we wish her the absolute best in her retirement, and we thank her for her outstanding service to our school district. Yay! All right, moving along. Numbers 10 and 11, as well as 27, you can find on page 13 in the addendum. We're asking to hire new certificated and non-certificated staff for this school year. Number 12, as you can find on page 14, we're asking to approve the transfer of non-certificated staff for this school year. Number 18, which you can find on page 15 and 16, we're asking you to approve staff for working in the Rising Stars Academy on an as-needed basis, and that's our academy, and Ms. Grossman helped me out, that all of our students that are being tested.
Yes, so it's the 3rd graders that'll take the NJSLA
Thank you.
and the 4th, 5th.
Number 20, we're asking you to approve staff for the Adult English as a Second Language program, which I love. and that is a federal grant-funded program. If you don't know about it, this is for any of our parents that speak English as a second language. We have two incredible teachers that work with them to help them learn basic English so that they can communicate with their children at home and help them as best as they can with their homework and so forth. It's something that we did with great success prior to the pandemic, and now we're finally bringing it back. When I would go to the high school and I would see the class, I'd have to just jump in the class and just be there. It's a wonderful class. The parents love it. I think our parents are so thrilled that it's back. So again, kudos to Ms. Grossman and everybody that was a part of bringing this very, very valuable and great program back to us. Numbers 22 and 23, which you can find on page 17, we're asking you to appoint staff, believe it or not, for the summer to work in the Camp Excel Extended School Year program and the Learning Acceleration at Camp Excel programs. It's 3 months away, guys, if you can believe it or not. My goodness. Number 33, which you can find in the addendum, we're asking you to approve staff to work in the Preschool Academy. This is a new program, a pilot program that Ms. Burns and Ms. Magistro went ahead and created. It is a tutoring program for our preschoolers. So we're really looking closely on how well this program goes, and we're really excited about helping our students a little bit more during this incredible program. So more to come. I'll provide you updates on how that goes. And number 35, which you can find in the addendum, we're asking you to approve the New Jersey High Impact Grant Tutoring Coordinators. I think Mr. Callahan spoke about this earlier. With our grant funding, we can go ahead and provide stipends to what we're going to call coordinators of the programs so that they can continue to facilitate more and more kids to take part in that tutoring, especially that tutoring that's offered at the high school, that 24 hours, 7 days a week tutoring that every single student in grades 6 through 12 can participate in. And not nearly enough right now are taking advantage of it. So we need those coordinators to get out there and promote it and get more and more of these kids to participate in it. So we're excited about that as well. That concludes my report, Mrs. Bloom.
So now are we covered for tutoring just about every grade level?
Well, we've always had tutoring for every grade level, but for their high-impact tutoring, it's for grades 3 through 5 in mathematics for select students, but in grades 6 through 12, every and any child can participate in that tutoring. All they have to do is get their initial login and access, but that at any time, if they're struggling with any type of homework, they can go online and get an actual tutor to help them within minutes at any time during the day.
Yes. Okay, so when I see the parents on Facebook asking for tutors, I can say,
Yes,
just ask your building principal, we provide them.
absolutely, and it's pretty soon,
Which
if
I've
you
done
want to,
already.
you can go ahead and give them the names of the coordinators
Yeah,
that are on this agenda, because
Perfect.
those are the people that are going to be the point of contact to get those parents to get their kids into the tutoring program. And by the way, with the additional money that we receive from state aid, we are looking to continue some of these great programs that are no longer going to be grant funded.
okay. Anything else?
So, Dr. Labby, quick question. We had that fantastic discussion about establishing the Sports Hall of Fame in the high school. Does the board need to approve that before we can take applications for it?
No.
Or no? Okay.
That
Just
would be a
one.
high school program, but we can talk about it a little bit more. So just like many other school districts in New Jersey, there is a separate Hall of Fame for athletic programs and performing arts programs. And basically, it's a way of celebrating the accomplishments of students while they're actually here with us in school. We feel that this is a great way to recognize some of those students, as well as teams and coaches, for the great work that they've done while they've been in our school district. But also, this helps our high school Hall of Fame go ahead and look for nominations to select for the High School Hall of Fame, which predominantly selects people based upon what they do after they leave the school district. So we feel that not only will this be a great program to recognize the accomplishments of our students in athletics and the performing arts, as well as the fine and visual arts while they're in school, but it also will assist our High School Hall of Fame too.
I-
Two questions.
I think we're going to run out of wall space. is
Yeah,
what
I think it's
I think
fantastic.
we're going to
Two
run.
questions.
Yes.
So is the regular Hall of Fame nomination, are they merging with that?
No,
No,
it's separate.
So they'll have their own
Yep.
selection?
In
committee?
fact, we're going to start this year with the selection.
And you're gonna recognize, like we said, we're gonna start doing the high school kids now, so we're still gonna recognize people from the past and everything.
Oh, absolutely. The rule is you have to be out of the high school at least 5 years.
That's why I brought it.
For, to be nominated. But there can be, and I'll use the term loosely, and pardon me if you use it, there can be legacy nominations, meaning people that maybe played in the 1970s or performing arts in the 1980s, whatever the case. And that's one of the reasons why, at least with the Athletic Hall of Fame right now, people that are on the committee, there are current coaches as well as previous coaches that are now retired, since they have better knowledge of those people that performed, 30, 40 years ago. We also have statistics that we can go by, and state championships and so forth, but you really do need those people that were around then when someone played or someone coached or when teams performed.
Yeah, so at first, my first instinct was that this is going to get confused with or take away from the regular Hall of Fame. But Dr. Labby, in his infinite wisdom, said, well, if we get these people who were good athletes and then moving forward, they accomplish other great things, these can be potential people for the regular Hall of Fame. So it all made sense. The fact that we're going to have coaches, and I even said, maybe you don't even need a nomination. Just go through your statistics and year by year, pick 5 kids, 1 team, 1 coach, like that. But they had a whole set of bylaws. It initially said 10 years out, and I said, that's kind of a long time to be out. Let's try and recognize them while they're still enjoying their titles. So Jen was really good about that. She dropped it down.
and-
But I have a question. If it's for artists and people who do, singing the music,
Well,
and
right
all
now,
that,
it's
why
just
is it
the
being
sports-
called
no, no.
a sports hall of fame?
No,
Right
this-
now, it's just the Sports Hall of Fame.
There would be a
That's
We're going to
Arts
mirror
Hall of
that,
Fame.
And then
Eileen,
we're
with
going
performing
to
arts.
Hall of Fame.
separate
We're
performing
going one at a
and
time.
visual arts.
So we already have a sports hall of
No.
fame?
No,
They're starting.
we're starting that one first.
They're starting that one.
And then we're going to mirror that, we're going to
Why
mirror
can't
the
we just combine it all?
we're going to mirror that process
It would
for the
be too
Performing
many
Arts Hall
people
of
at
Fame.
one time.
Yeah, that would be too
Because-
much.
Yeah, when we do ours, we initially, we
That's not fair.
nominate half a dozen people each year, and then we have a banquet.
But that's not fair.
Well,
Because the
but you-
sports are already highlighted, and the people who do performing arts
Yeah,
and all
but
that
it's-
are not. They just started getting varsity
Well,
letters 2
this-
years
they-
ago, at
But-
my suggestion.
This
So
was
we
just
really need
brought to us.
If,
Yeah,
it
well-
was, and if next year the high school decides to do their performing arts, visual arts, Hall of Fame, it's not going to nullify any of the achievements from the kids from 30 years ago in Sayreville that had outstanding theatrical careers.
So
Or-
we're going back 30 years?
We're going to go back as
As
far
far as
as,
we can.
Go back
as
far as
it can
anybody
go
wants to
back.
go.
We're just starting with one first, and that was the athletics first because they're prepared. But right now, Mr. Howard and Mr. Gillespie are working on developing the Performing Arts Hall of Fame too, the Visual and Performing Arts Hall of Fame.
So it's all coming. Don't worry, we won't forget
I'll
the
believe
arts.
it when
You
I
know,
see
I'm.
You won't forget.
And that's
I'll
why,
believe it
like
when I
Lucy
see
said,
it.
we're going to run out of wall space because we got so many great
certainly are,
kids.
Yeah, we're in the process of redoing.
Well,
the-
if you're
it should
going
be
back
the
30
front
years,
hall.
yeah, you're gonna run
Yeah,
out.
we're in
But
the
I would stick
process.
with modern times.
Your Hall of Fame, now I understand the
Well, you know what? We're probably going to have them throughout the whole school. There'll be no place to hang anything else,
Perfect.
Well, first we have to put up stuff for the real athletes.
but that's fine.
Today's
Okay, anything else? Okay, I have one little item that I want to bring up. I noticed that we are approving the 8th grade semi-formal, and I went last year, and it was a wonderful event. I just want to bring up 2 little things. At the end, they brought in this wonderful transformer guy. I mean, he almost reached the ceiling. And he performed, and he interacted with the kids, and he was fabulous, except at the very end, sparklers came out of his hands, and he was standing by the sprinklers in the ceiling, and I looked at glue, and he looked at me, and he said, it's okay, he's not that close to them. So I was a little concerned about that, because Zoe said they did want to maybe get him again for this year. So, I mean, he can come in and do all his stuff, but I'm concerned about the sparklers coming out of his hands. And then.
I'll speak with Mr. Nurnberger about that.
My other thing was, the DJ, you know I love Jared. He brought those noodles. As much as they think they're 8th graders and they're all grown up, as soon as we gave them those styrofoam noodles, we spent the rest of the night trying to keep them from hitting each other with the noodles. So maybe we could eliminate the noodles and
Ah,
give
the
them.
noodles are cool.
Give them the
Are
little
they the
glow
light-up
things.
noodles?
No. Those are
they're-
the little
but they're
glow
foam, so
sticks.
nobody's gonna get
I'm
knocked out with
talking
it.
about the big, but yeah, the girls didn't want
We
the
shouldn't
boys
ruin their fun.
hitting them in their hairdos, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but
So-
we shouldn't ruin their fun. Let them be
Well,
fun.
then you can come chaperone.
Okay, I
with
mean,
me,
these
and
are all
we
things I can discuss
chase
with
the
Mr.
noodles.
Nurberger.
I'm not allowed to go to it because my daughter's going to be out. She said I'm not
okay.
allowed to.
I think we're too picky.
Okay. No, you think I'm too picky, just say, go ahead.
But have fun,
I'm fine
kids.
with it. Okay, that's it for me.
Let them have fun.
Yeah, let 'em have fun.
Anything else? Okay.
Tell that to the girls who didn't want to get hit in the head by the boys.
I think we need motions, right?
We do.
Okay. Where are we now?
A motion to
We need a
accept.
motion to approve the superintendent's report.
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
Oh.
this is
I
cutthroat
heard
now.
Callahan one, and then was Mr. Walsh too? Who was two?
I think it was
There was
Allison.
somebody
Oh,
down
Allison
there.
was two?
I think it was Allison.
All
All
right,
right,
Allison.
so it was,
Okay.
okay.
I'm told that we don't
Mr.
say
Callahan.
anything, or?
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Mrs. Napolitano?
Yes.
Mrs. Pavone?
I'm going to abstain from page 14 on personnel, item 13, but all the rest, yes.
Okay, Ms. Pylock?
Yes. Dr. Labby's
Mr.
looking at
Smith?
me like, why is she?
Yes.
Mr.
I know
Walsh?
why.
Yes.
Good
And
job.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Just the one name.
That's awesome. She's doing it.
I wondered if that was a... Okay, at this time, we will open to public for any items at all. Anybody from public? Anything?
Anything.
Sayreville resident, and I have a question about policy
State your name first, please, miss.
57 and 56.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Jeannie Devine,
Okay, thank you.
policy 57 and 56. I was wondering what the status of that is in Sayreville right now.
Policy 5766.
Yeah, we have it already. We don't do it.
What is it?
Okay, so your particular question is, what is the status of it? It's a Board of Education policy.
Right, it's active in Sayreville,
Yes,
it's not,
it's an active Board of Education policy.
are they going, so there's not going to be any voting on it or anything like that?
It's been
It's
approved.
just been enforced since 2021, or,
Correct.
and how does that work as far as?
The adoption date is November 16th, yeah.
You can shed some light on what the policy is.
What are we talking about?
This is the transgender students.
Okay,
It's actually a required policy
right.
mandated by state law.
But I understand that, Dr. Labby, that a lot of districts in the area, from what I understand, they're rescinding that policy, but Sayreville's not looking to do that, it's just enforced, and there's not going to be,
That's actually news to me. Someone that attends my monthly county roundtable meetings with my superintendent colleagues from Middlesex County, that's not happening.
well, even in Monmouth,
Well, there's only one school district in Monmouth, and you're probably referring to the Middletown School District, and they're actually being litigated right now against, by the governor. The governor is suing them.
so how does that work as far as sports and the bathrooms in the school?
It's all outlined in the policy.
Okay.
Have
So
you had any reason to complain about it? Like, did anything
No,
happen?
I was wondering about it, what,
Okay.
about it, how it works, especially as far as the bathroom.
If you read the policy, basically it gives students the ability to use a facility that they identify with.
That they identify with. Okay.
And I have to say that we have not had a problem in Sayreville with it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Anyone else from public? No? Okay. At this time, we will close public. And any comments or input from the board on?
I don't know who or who to thank, and I know you might think because it's my nephew, but I know they streamed Connor Walsh's state wrestling match and in the cafeteria, which I thought was awesome. And I think the more things that we can do for our student athletes or anyone that is on the big stage, if we can get that, I think that was a tremendous idea.
Well, that's been a big push of Mr. Gluhowski since he became principal at the high school, is to promote more school spirit and pride in the school. And this is one of the ways, the strategies that he's using to go ahead and do that.
Kudos, Mr. Glusky.
Now, along with that, if you read Talk Soup, which I know no one does,
I read it every week.
the Harlem Wizards,
I do.
the Harlem Wizards, who will be performing against the staff, also came in during lunch periods to speak with our students. And this is also another brilliant reason why he did this. If you've been in our lunch periods, they're 45 minutes. And the first 20 to 25 minutes, the kids are eating. But after that 25 minutes, there's a 20 minutes where it's, it can get at times a little dicey. The kids, they're done eating and there's not a lot for them to do. So this is his way also of not only promoting school spirit and pride, but filling that void with entertaining things for the kids to be able to do. So on both parts, I think it was a great idea, and I appreciate the fact that you're bringing that up. And I know Connor did quite well in the tournament. I believe he was 16th?
Top 16.
Top 16th, and that's quite the accomplishment. Think about that.
Can I also just mention that's the best in the Walsh family?
He's the most
Mr. Callahan, I don't believe it's even close, right?
He's the future Hall of Famer from their family.
There you go.
But when you think about the fact that there's probably about 400 high schools in New Jersey, being in the top 16 out of 400 is quite the accomplishment. So congratulations to Connor Walsh.
Congratulations.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I do have a comment. I would like the board, whoever is on the committee that makes the calendar up, okay, please try to consider making Juneteenth the real holiday. Because it does affect the parents if they're off for that holiday, the kids are off on a different day, and it's just a matter of respect to their heritage that we recognize that day when it should be day. And if you don't know what it means, what it represents, you might be more inclined to say, yeah, we should do that, if you know what it means. So if you don't, read up on it, learn more about it. But the fact is we do recognize all these other religious holidays on the days that they're actually happening. So we should do the same thing with Juneteenth.
And I know you know this, Mrs. Pabon, but
towards the governor, since that's
right, we do it on the third Friday
Just because the
June.
state does not dictate all the other holidays. So when all these holidays are happening on those dates, we're recognizing them without the governor telling us to do so. So let's do the same thing for the African-American community and recognize the day when it should be recognized.
And those, the holidays that you just referenced are religious holidays, so he really can't do that. But the purpose of him doing that is so that school districts will all be off at the same time. That was his purpose in making it, so that government agencies
People who work.
and school districts could all be off at the same time. It was to try to create uniformity. Unfortunately, there are some school districts that don't do that. We were ones that did do that because we understood why he was asking us to do that, so that we wouldn't have staff members who, were not at work and their kids had to go to school, or vice versa. Their kids were at home while they had to go to school. That's the purpose why we went ahead and followed the state's lead in terms of celebrating it on that third Friday. However, your message has been heard, and we'll go ahead and make considerations
And that
toward that.
message I say on behalf of that community, the African-American community, who really feel strongly about this and maybe none of them are on this board at this time, but they do have kids in the school, and they would just appreciate that consideration. So thank you.
Okay, anything else? For the good of the order? No? Okay, at this time, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Okay, so.
Second.
Any opposed?
Just make
Okay.
it the Allison and Patrick.
We're adjourned.
Gosh.